Welcome to Forged in the Fires podcast with Fireman Rob. Being a fireman, father, veteran, husband, world record holder, and Ironman, he brings stories of experience to impact your life while challenging you to live it. What do you want from your life? Why do you want it? Are you willing to go through the challenges to get there? If you have the courage to take that first step, let this podcast be the catalyst to start your fire while you bring the resilience to make it continue to burn. Our lives are made up of moments called right nows. So let's get started. Forged in the Fires podcast with your host, Fireman Rob, begins now.
All right, welcome back to the Forged in the Fires podcast. Today, the guest that I have, he's a little crazy, kind of like myself. And he's actually going to be a little crazier. We're going to find out more about him. He's a police officer. And he has done a lot of races and competitions in his police gear. I'm so happy to have on Keegan Hughes. Thanks for coming on.
Hey, thanks for having me.
It's funny. We're sitting here talking and, you have a crazy, I got to start off with this because you have a crazy adventure that you're going into this year. Tell us more about your adventure with 70.3 triathlons that you're going to do this year.
So this year, for the last 5 years, I've been doing the uniform thing for, I think, around 9 years now. But in the last 5 years, we really stepped up the game, and we'll maybe talk more about what we did before. But I needed something different than I've ever done before, something that was going to, challenge me and push me. And so if it's not motivating me or scaring me, I know I won't give it my all in support of what the actual mission is. So this year, it's 70.3 triathlon each week all year. And we're not specific sanctioned races, but just we're going to do the 1.2 mile swim, the 56 mile bike, and a 13.1 mile run each week, one day each week all year.
And the greatest thing I love when you talked about, like, you have to challenge yourself. And what are you doing this for this year? Because a lot of people go, God, that's just crazy. Why would you do something like that? But it's always for something bigger than yourself. What is it for this year?
So this year, we went ahead and we're going to honor every first responder that dies in the line of duty this year. So basically the way it works is, and I know this sounds terrible, but we won't have a week this entire year where a first responder isn't killed in the line of duty. Now that could be COVID, or it could be a car accident, a fire, or it could be homicide. Right. And we're going to honor them that next week. So if they die, whoever sadly passes away this week, we're going to honor on Sunday when we do our event. And also, as anything we do, we raise money for charity. And that's one of the most important things we do.
I love it. And like you said, it is a sad thing that is happening in the first responder community. And it's not something that's prevalent that people know about. It's something that if you're in that community, you understand that happened, but it's something that in the back of our minds every single time, you go on a beat or we go to a fire, that this is happening all throughout the US every single day, every single week, that somebody's losing their life.
Oh yeah. It does. It happens. Sadly, more often than it needs to. Now, in my community, I live in and around the Kansas City metropolitan community. I work in a town just outside of there. It's not often that one of our cities around here loses an officer. I'd say in the last 5 years or 10 years, we've lost about 6. And that's too many. And right. We've lost, I think, about 4 firefighters in that same amount of time.
It's crazy. And I love what you're doing because it pushes beyond just the normal of everybody understanding what we go through on a daily basis, because a lot of people will see, police officers, hey, you're at the donut store, or firefighters, hey, you're in the recliners watching a TV program most of the day. And it's like, yeah, that does happen. I don't know if you go eat donuts. I shouldn't assume, Keegan. But now you're having to consume a lot more calories.
Yeah.
But it is that far extremes of, yes, I don't have anything to do, but then you're going to something that is catastrophic. It's a traumatic event. How do you, in your mind, when you're at work, how do you switch between? Because a lot of people they're like, I don't really know, but do you have that idea of how you're able to switch between and then go back to that kind of that calm mindset?
I mean, we truthfully, like in our job, and it's the same for anything, when it gets chaotic, when the stress is really happening, I've been fortunate enough, and I hope to retire, never to actually, be involved in like a shooting or one of those situations. But you kind of have to train your mind in advance to stay calm. Then we'll deal with it afterwards. But at that moment, we have to stay calm and focused, not only just to keep ourselves safe, but all those around us.
Right. No, that's so true. And, speaking of mindsets, I want to go back in time to when you did a run from St. Louis to Kansas City in your uniform. And there's something else that happened that why did you do that run? And what was like one of the greatest things that happened from that run?
So it all started when, like Project Remember, and like the idea, it's kind of crazy, but it started when an Independence police officer, which is the neighboring city of where I work, Tom Wagstaff, he was shot in the head on a home invasion robbery call. And I've known Tom for many years prior to him being shot, as almost everybody. He was that guy. Everybody knew him. He was just this like really small guy, like 5'2", but like larger than life. And so he kind of inspired me to kind of put the uniform back on, and we did a little fundraiser for him. And after that, I knew that I needed to step it up. And so that's where the St. Louis to Kansas City came from. I needed something that was big enough that it was going to, so like in our community, we understand what's going on, but I needed a way to get outside of our community and inspire more people to get involved with the first responders and what they're going through to kind of bridge that gap. Right. And doing a training run, kind of God shot an idea in my head, and there it is, St. Louis to Kansas City, 260 miles. It took 9 days. It's about 30 miles a day. Every day was a struggle fest,
I can't imagine.
The first day, and I remember laying in bed that night just going, I can't do 8 more days. I just can't. And you talk about, you run a marathon. Well, there's a wall on that marathon, right?
Right.
So every day I had a wall, and then I had a wall during the week. It was like a big wall. And, but your mind and your body, you can tell your mind to shut up. You can tell your body, to stop. And so you finish that, and you take that strength, and you don't know, but you may have to count on that strength later in life in different situations. Hey, that was hard. What I did there was impossible, not impossible, but you know what I mean? It was really hard. And I think it prepared me for what was like one of the biggest, events in my life. And so I have a friend, it's Modesto, California detective named Sean. And he gets me to go run all over the country, doing marathons for fallen first responders. We went out your way for a Wausau police officer. Yep. But we did. He got me to run the I-35 Challenge, which is a Kansas City marathon on a Saturday and the Des Moines Marathon on a Sunday. Yeah, I know, right? So yeah, we've already done all this, but he wanted to do it, so we agreed, and we did it in honor of a fallen Kansas City police officer and a fallen Des Moines police officer. Well, after that run, I noticed a spot on the bottom of my big toe, and I thought it was a blood blister, but it wasn't. It was like a spot that, like, the only reason I noticed it was because it was irritated due to running those 2 marathons. Right. And because you just can't see it. You have to like kind of contort your foot to see it. Well, it doesn't go away. So I kind of Google, brown spot. And
you went to Dr. Google.
Is melanoma, cancer, skin cancer.
Holy cow.
It's like the worst kind. Like there's basal, which is the one that kind of just scrape off. And then there's melanoma. And it's like, yeah, I mean, it can kill you in as little as 5 weeks. It's pretty scary. And so
jeez.
I go to the doctor. She's like, no, I think it's a blood blister. We'll just cut it off. And this is kind of a long part of the story, but you want to talk about like tough days and getting through it. I have this day. I'm a brand new patrol sergeant, but like on the road, like 4 months supervising a squad. And the day starts out at like, it's like 9 a.m. and one of my officers calls for assistance. An officer needs assistance, which means that it's gone crazy. They need help, and everyone stops what they're doing and immediately runs as fast as they can, lights and sirens, to that officer to help them.
Right.
And I get there, and one of my officers has been assaulted, and she ends up having to go to the hospital. While I'm still on the scene, before she's even transported to the hospital, a shooting happens. And so now I'm dealing with that. And at the end of the day, it's 4 o'clock when our shift ends, and we usually debrief the day. It's our time to kind of, talk about any mental health issues or anything that we need to correct from that day. And right at 4 o'clock, I get a phone call, and it's, hey, this is Dr. Such and Such. And if you've ever been called regarding some test results, if the doctor themselves calls you,
it's not good.
It's not good. No, it's going to be bad news, because the nurse delivers the good news, and she's like, hey, yeah, it's melanoma. Here's the steps you got to take. And so here's who you need to call next. And I remember I was driving home that day, and my brother-in-law was battling cancer at the time. And my sister sends out a message that day that's like, hey, he's in remission. And oh my God. I was like, oh, it's great news for him. And I text my wife, and this was terrible of me. And I'm like, hey, guess who's not? Guess who has cancer?
Oh, yeah, our communication skills are not good.
And she's in a meeting.
Oh, jeez.
So she's in a meeting, and she turns white as a ghost, and she's like, I gotta go. And stupid me, right? But anyway, so the point of the story is now I have melanoma, and how they get rid of melanoma, it's called a white excision. And it's like cutting out a root, right? They take so much from the top, the side, or the top, the bottom, the left, the right, and they go deep. Well, when it's on your big toe, they can't do that. And so the doctor tells me that she has to amputate my big toe. And at the time, I'm like, oh my God, we're going to run again, And like, that's the thought that's going through my head. And I'm literally flying out the next day to go run a marathon with Sean again, but this time in Louisiana. And so I don't hear anything else. And my wife, thankfully, was in that meeting with me. And so she starts rolling through the questions. And the doctor's like, no, you're going to run again. She goes, you'll have to have a prosthetic toe. And which I laughed, but getting that toe cut off. That's my big toe. And I laugh, and I'm like, I got some pretty big toes. So when I get done with that, I can't walk. It takes about 8 weeks before I can walk with minimal pain. But as soon as I can start running again, as soon as I'm released, I just start, and I start with running like a minute at a time. And that's all that I can take because of the pain. But I use the mental strength from before, and I just keep pushing, and I keep pushing, and I keep pushing until, eventually you just take off. Right. And you just keep running, you keep running. And I always tell the joke is like, if I hadn't done, first of all, I had the easy cancer, right? I got lucky it didn't spread.
Right.
It was a very big blessing. I got lucky that I only lost a big toe, and I didn't have to do anything else. But if I wouldn't have had all this other endurance stuff behind me and trained my brain to deal with like the toughness of those events, I think that this outcome would have been different for me. I think that I probably would have gave in. I probably would have been done. I probably weigh 250 pounds now and just been like, no, I can't. I don't have a big toe. I'm weak,
Right.
I know it sounds silly, but I just really think that it set me up for success.
I love the way that you said I had to start with just going 1 minute at a time, because that's a mental strength mentality of being able to compartmentalize and say, oh my God, I just need to run. Instead, you said, okay, I needed to go 1 minute at a time. Dive into that a little bit more for me, because where does that come from, that mentality? I know you said from other races, but what else do you use that mentality in?
Every day, everything you do, I think it's to get anywhere in life, you always have to set goals for yourself. And I'm extremely goal oriented, and knowing that, like, everything for me is like, you got to take every inch that you get. And that means that you got to work for it. If that means that I got to train for an entire year to do a 7-day event, or I know that for me to get promoted to the sergeant, I'm going to have to buckle down and, take or study for the test and practice and work hard for whatever I do. You just have to have a mindset of success in everything that you do in life.
I love that idea. And that really translates to what you're doing now with that Project Remember. Do you have other police officers that are joining you? I've seen some other officers on there as well on your Instagram, but like, what is the impact that you feel that you've created? Like, a lot of times you won't be able to see all the people that you've affected, but what about some of the other officers around you or other people that you've heard from? What does that impact feel like to you? But also at the same time, what has it changed in other people's lives?
So, and I'm going to kind of change that. So for me, how we've set up Project Remember, it's not so much how it affects other officers, which it does, and don't get me wrong, but it affects the officers that were involved with who we're honoring. So we don't just like, hey, except for, this year's a little hard when we're going to be honoring, however many people, but like in a typical year with Project Remember, we pick one honoree a day, and we talk to the family. We spend the day with the family. And before I ever start running, I'm in communication. I'm learning about who we're honoring. And it's just that important to us that we build these relationships. So I would say that, like, we're really kind of changing lives as far as letting these families know that we're still remember, their officer, their family member, and that we care about them. And I think one of the most impactful stories is the one from Wausau up in your neck of the woods. I'm now friends with an officer. He's now retired from policing, but he was there present when his best friend was murdered during an active shooter. Ugh. And we went up there and honored that fallen officer. His name Jason Weiland. And when we got up there, his wife Kara, his daughters, and Shane, his best friend, take us out to dinner the night that we get into town. And it's me and a Patrick, who's a lieutenant with Cook County, Illinois Sheriff's Department, a guy named Neil who works in California, and Sean, who also works in California. And after we get done doing the marathon, Shane takes us through the entire events of that day in his car, going to location to location to location. Wow. And it was the most impactful thing on my life that I'm now like this. Jason is now a part of my life. I don't know Jason. I never met Jason, but I feel like I really know Jason. And when we left there, we received a lot of messages, not only from Shane, but his family, of like, we really brought some healing, and everyone up there was in a real funk, but it really kind of brought him back into a happy place. And honestly, I'm not going to say this, Shane and I and some of these guys, we vacation. I've been into like 3 states with Shane now. I've been to his house, hang out, and with Kara. We've all went on vacation together, and it's not just a one time we're going to go honor friendship. We're building relationships with these families, and it's really impactful. And as far as like our officers around here locally, they love it. They get involved. They come out. They participate. They're all invited to every event, and a lot of them show up, and they, whether it's, I have one officer that's training with an electric bike so that she can come out and join us, and because it's that important to her. So she's going to spend months training just to be able to join us on a few days. That's amazing.
I love that philosophy, because it's so true when you're talking about making those lifelong friends. A lot of people don't understand the camaraderie, the family aspect of our lines of work. And not only that, but when somebody is lost in the line of duty, or somebody is lost from cancer or whatever it might be, that really is, to keep that memory alive of that person is huge for the family, and to have them feel like they're not alone after that incident is so critical, right?
Oh, it's huge. And I say this because this is going to sound terrible, but a lot of times after a family member is killed in the line of duty, people don't know this, but there's a lot of money that ends up going that family's way. And a lot of times it causes fights within the family. And so they're not only dealing with turmoil of losing their loved one, but there's people trying to steal money from them. And so they liked it. They get to have somebody that's there just to support them, just to build them up and let them know that, we still remember, their officer or firefighter. And, we're not here. They're not everybody's out to try to take from you. And I think that's
right.
What you do.
Yeah, that's a huge thing. And after somebody passes, yeah, you're exactly right. There's a lot of things that go on that maybe they don't understand, and they're trying to grieve and they're trying to understand. And it's great that you're doing something that is out there, that's physical, that's making them understand that they're not alone, that we're going to remember this individual and we're going to do it in the right way. And I love what you're doing with that.
It's been a real blessing in my life. But honestly, I joke. I said, I probably, unless you are in the community that you're a surviving family member, those people all know each other. From Kara in Wisconsin, she knows the families down here in Kansas City. It's a real small community. It really is, because they're all part of the Concerns of Police Survivors, which is the big COP. If a cop is killed in the line of duty, they swing in. I mean, cops comes in the night it happens and immediately goes and sits with the family and starts walking them through what's about to happen. And what's important is that person that's there with them, they've been there too. It's usually somebody who's lost a loved one. It's usually, like for Missouri, the last two presidents of Missouri Concerns of Police Survivors, both of their husbands were killed in the line of duty. And so they know what's about to happen. And, it's just important to know. I mean, like to know all these people and to know that they have the support system. It's important to me.
And how valuable do you think? I mean, when you think of like the mental health and the first responders, and I heard earlier you mentioned at the end of your shifts, you'll go through, well, what do we need to talk about? Is there something that we need to address on the mental health side? Where do you think the mental health of the first responder community is right now, but also needs to go in the future to actually to capitalize on making sure that we're all taking care of each other?
We're lost. I mean, we are losing the battle on mental health, and we're getting better at acknowledging that it's a problem. When both of us first started, no one talked about mental health. And now we talk about it every day, but we're still not getting help. We're still seeing more suicides in our community than we are line of duty deaths. And that's scary to me. And so I think one of the big things we need is readily available help. And thankfully, it's not now. Neither one of us could be terminated for being depressed. But 5 years ago,
you could totally.
If we had PTSDs, we could have been terminated for that. And but now I don't even know how to fix it, because it's a broader problem of affordability. And I wish every department in the country would hire a psychiatrist to just be there when they needed it.
What have you seen from you doing these activities? Like, somebody doesn't have to go out there and do an Ironman or a 70.3, but through physical activity, you've seen probably a good change in mental health for yourself, right?
Oh yeah. I mean, so I always, people like, why do you like run? Like, why do you like to run so much? Or why do you do this? Well, I realized that I had terrible coping mechanisms,
You and me, brother, you and me.
So like, for me, it's like, I get done with a 5 or 10 mile run and I'm not angry. I'm not stressed. I'm not anxious. I'm happy. I feel accomplished, and my stress, I work it all out. And that's kind of my time to just, talk things through in my head. I mean, you can't imagine every idea I've ever had for an event has come while running. And while most people are like, all I think about when I'm running is when I can stop. And I'm like, no, I'm thinking about where else I could go. How much more can I do?
I love that. It's so true. It's let me tell you, there's been many, many times that I've wanted to go, okay, I need to stop. But it's the pain that, it's odd, but it was always the pain. Actually, I figured this out later, but it was the pain that actually made me feel alive and want to continue to go of these races.
When I tell the story of how I got started doing endurance events, the shock from what I do leaves to the shock of you. And I 10 years ago, it was 2012. And I remember watching the Ironman World Championships. I believe it's 2012. And I remember seeing this crazy guy out there in these 100-degree heat, walking not just in full bunker and turnout gear, but you had your helmet and SCBA air pack on. And
I'm not too smart. I mean, we don't need to go into that.
You want to, and walking. You have to walk your marathon, right? You
right.
can't run that, and
nope.
and so that's where I kind of got my crazy ideas from. And I called you after that. I mean, we reached out and I talked to you, and I was like, hey, I want to do this, and for that, I'm forever grateful for you taking that step. But you get it, you understand.
Yeah. It was, and I think for me, I mean, I'm blessed to have individuals like yourself who've, for lack of a better term, carried down the flag and carried that messaging and found your purpose in the pain, in essence, to help others to find their purpose in the pain. And I think it's such a huge thing in the fire service and the police service, EMS, military, to have that family feel, and to have people, if somebody falls, you pick it up and continue to go. So I have to say thank you so much for continuing it.
No, I mean, it's been a real honor to be able to do this. It's been an honor to, not only that is the, not plugging the charity, but the charity we support is a charity that is a first responder injury and illness fund. And so when these officers or firefighters get hurt in the line of duty or get cancer, or most notably in Kansas City, everyone knows a Kansas City police officer by the name of Sarah Nauser who has ALS. And she has been an absolute angel about being a positive person and with a death sentence. And, it's been wonderful to be able to raise money and have Answering the Call show up and show them financial support. So all they have to do is really just worry about battling, the physical battle of whatever they're dealing with.
And plug that charity that you have.
It's called Answering the Call, and it's a Kansas City-based first responder injury and illness fund. They're growing, they're becoming really big, and we're hoping to get branches of Answering the Call eventually. We're spreading out through Missouri right now, but hopefully getting to other states too. But it's a pure charity in its purest form. It's founded by a local police officer. Its board is made up of local business leaders, and they don't have a building. They're not paying a bunch of salaries. I used to call it, they were 0%, 100% charity, but now I know they spend a little money to advertise themselves and stuff like that now, which they should. But last year alone, they gave out $115,000. Now they're smaller, but they gave out $115,000 to first responders. Amazing. Instant check. Here you go. Get better.
Amazing. Well, I want people to make sure to follow you at According to Keegan. That's on Instagram. And also you can find out more about Answering the Call. They have an Instagram page as well. It's atc.NC 911. Surprising that it's 911, right? Well, I can't thank you enough for being on today, and also for everything that you're doing. I always end my podcast the same way. I've got 3 questions. I didn't give them to you in advance because, I like to make police officers sweat. It's just, fun for me. So first question, you ready?
Yes.
All right. If you had one thing that you could tell people to do every single morning to change their life, what habit would that be?
Man. I think it's spend time on personal growth first thing in the morning every day. Now that could be spiritual, read the Bible. It could be reading a self-help book. It could be exercising, but something that is going to better them first thing in the morning, every morning.
I love that one. It's so true because it's, every morning you need to do something that's going to make your day go better because that's it. Everything rides on that.
Yeah,
it's what police car you get, what seat you get on the fire truck. It's always important.
Yes.
Number 2, if you could go back in time to your 18-year-old self, what would you tell yourself?
Oh man. It can't be too life-changing because I think that my life turned out the way I want it to turn out because of a lot of the dumb choices I made back then.
I love that answer.
The only thing I would say is I wish I would have focused on physical fitness before I turned, 30 years old. So I think it would have been, hey, start learning to run now. Start learning how to, lift weights and do all this now.
I like that idea. All right, this last one's actually pretty fun. So if you could pick 3 people, living or deceased, that you could have at a firehouse table and have coffee with, who would they be and why?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, exactly. See, now you're sweating. I like
I mean, I think I'm a very religious person, and obviously I'm gonna pick Jesus, and then I think we're gonna move to my gosh,
it's tough.
Now you got me.
See, I got you. But, somebody on another podcast told me that Jesus would probably be the one that drinks the most coffee.
That probably,
He's got a lot of things to do.
I just feel like I don't know. That's a good question. We'll put my grandma in there. I'd like to talk to her. I think, she really tried to reach out when I was younger. I wasn't always the best kid to try to make me better. And I think I'd like to show her where I became. Awesome. Hey, sit down, let's talk. And then I think I'll invite my grandpa so he can say hi to his wife he married when he was 16 years old and hasn't seen for many years. We'll make it easy.
I love it. Well, hey, Keegan, I appreciate you coming on today. I appreciate what you do in your profession as well as outside of your profession to impact lives, and keep doing what you're doing. And definitely we'll make sure to connect when you get to number 52, because I know you're going to be very tired.
Hey, I appreciate it. Thanks for having me on.
No problem. Thanks for joining us today. We'll talk to you next time.
Thanks for listening and supporting the Forged in the Fires podcast with Fireman Rob. Remember, don't forget to like and subscribe to this podcast, and please share this episode with a friend or family. To find out more about Fireman Rob or reach out about a question, go to www.firemanrob.com. Until next time, live your life forged in the fires.